friends, and welcome to episode 96. Oh my God, year 3 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Veri.
And I am Claudio Spera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
A quote by Bruce Kulick says it all. Mr. Speed is one of the best tribute bands I have ever seen. Not only do they embody the power of vintage Kiss, they do it with passion and commitment. End quote. Mr. Speed is made up of Mike Collins as Gene Simmons, Mark Hermansen as Ace Frehley, the newest member, Rich Hattery, as Eric Carr, and of course, our guest on the Kiss Army Nation podcast, Rich Kosak as Paul Stanley. We have so much to cover with this incredible band, so let's get to it. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate the time, and I really appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Rich. So, Rich, I wanted to kind of kick off our episode talking about, of course, Mr. Speed. So when it comes to the band, it seems that big announcements come fast and furious. So one such announcement was the introduction of Rich Hattery as Eric Carr. What led to the departure of Quentin, who played Peter Criss?
You know, guys, it's like any other relationship. The pro bands go through it. Bands on our level go through it. People grow. People change. They lose a dedication. Maybe they don't feel as strongly about something, a number of years after being involved with it. So Quentin basically just wanted to try something different with his life. What I had heard he was going to do was move to Nashville and become a rock star.
Nice.
So he had spent 5 years in our band, and he had pushed us. He was the best drummer that we had ever had. And he really wanted to show the fans how passionate he was. So he created that replica 77 kit that Peter had. And he was always very kind with our fans at meet and greets and things like that. And I can tell you, I stood on the side of the stage and watched every single drum solo for 5 years. And he played them all exactly the same, with passion and with heart. And that's a lot of what makes up our band, to be honest with
you. Cool. And now that you guys have Rich on board, so what were the circumstances that led Rich joining the band?
Well, that's interesting too, because there's not a Kiss store, on down the street where I can go and
where you can go.
God, I need a drummer. I need a bass player. So actually, what happened, this is the God's honest truth. Quentin had given us a year's advance notice that he was leaving the band. So we knew in January of 22 that he was going to leave. We just kept it a secret because band business is our business unless we feel it necessary to share it with the world. Just like you wouldn't tell somebody your own personal business when you're not on camera. Mm-hmm. It's your own personal business. Mm-hmm. So we started the search immediately. I made one phone call to a friend of mine here in Cleveland. He suggested one guy, and that one guy is Rich Hattery. And I kid you not, it's never been as easy as it was. So I met with Rich in March of 22. We sat for 3 hours, and we interviewed each other. He wanted to know what he was in for, and I wanted to let him know what I expected. And, it's interesting, too. We just played our first show this past Saturday night, 20 minutes from where I live here in Cleveland. That was the third time Rich had put his makeup on since he's been in the band. And you never know it. So we made a serious upgrade, in my opinion. Not only did we change from the Catman to the Fox, but we changed from Quentin to Rich. And you guys have probably been in relationships in your life, you've got families and whatnot. It doesn't always work. But we've been really lucky so far to bring a guy into the band who the culture stays very positive and the attitude is very positive, and that's super important within Mr. Speed.
That's super cool because it's always a challenge, right? So when you're changing one wheel on the car, man, so the car might not work the same way. So this is great. This is awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Rich, can you tell us and our listeners a little bit about the other members of the band, Mike and Mark?
Absolutely. Well, here's an interesting fact that a lot of people don't know this, and they're usually really shocked. Now there's two of us that live in the state of Ohio. When Quentin was in the band, I was the only one. So we were in 4 different states in the United States. And that's so Mark lives in Great Bend, Kansas, which is 2 hours from Wichita. So he's in essence 12 hours from me by car. Mike lives in Harlan, Kentucky, which is about 6 hours south of me. And Rich lives about 50 minutes away. So what I really love about the guys in the band, and this is super important, is surrounding each other with positive attitude and a good work ethic. These guys all want to challenge each other. We're not afraid of trying this song or that song. We don't just play Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2. Most Kiss bands do that, and they feel pretty safe. Some stretch out and do some other stuff here and there. But ever since day one of Mr. Speed, we've always been dedicated to playing the rare songs or the vault tracks or the obscure songs from Kiss's catalog. Because in my opinion, as leader of the band, that's how we flex our muscle. And that's how we give fans like you and your listeners more of what I think they're looking for, as opposed to what they expect, when they come to see us.
So, Rich, I don't know if you remember, but we met years ago at the pre-party for Kiss Cruise 3. And, I got to tell you, I was completely blown away by Mr. Speed. It was the first time I saw you guys. I felt that the musicianship was completely out of this world. Now, since then, you went through a lot of personnel changes, yet, the quality of the music and the performances remained hotter than hell. So I have a multiple choice question for you. So whenever there is a personnel change within the band, do you A, feel like the band is starting over, or B, you feel the band is somehow changing, or C, you just feel that the band is moving forward like no change has been made?
D, all of the above.
That's
exactly how I feel every time I have a member change in the band. And, any kind of relationship is going to have its ups and downs, its highs and its lows. It's never going to be perfect. Perfection, I think, is unattainable. But you work within the parameters of the 4 humans that are in the band, and you work to everybody's strengths. You try to discover what their weaknesses might be and shy away from those. And I'll give you an example of that would be vocal harmonies. You've got, let's just say Ace is singing the lead vocal. Say we're doing Talk to Me. Mike and I would need to pick up the harmonies. So we would need to sing the part that is strongest for each one of us. Maybe technically Mike should be doing the Gene part and I should be doing the Paul part, but it might not work out that way. So every time we make a change in the band, I do believe that the band gets better. It's almost a focal point for me to find people, because I've been there. I don't want to do that again. I want to go there and make it sound like this. So that's my approach for every time we have a member change in the band. So I'm going to say D. All 3 of those things apply.
Nice, good answer. Now the one constant in the band is you. So what are the challenges of keeping such a high-profile band going year after year?
Well, you name it. I've had conversations with Gene Simmons about our marketing. I said, hey, how can we put an image of us in the makeup on a T-shirt? Because you can only create so many T-shirts for 28 years with the band logo on it before it starts to get really boring. The way I lead this band is by keeping our nose clean and keeping just this side of the radar so that we don't have anybody calling us wanting a meeting. I think that gets lost on a lot of Kiss tribute bands. I don't think they have the respect for who it is that they're paying tribute to. I can tell you that I do. It's every time we do something different, I want to do it better. So I'm sitting here in a Mr. Speed hoodie that's brand new. I've got a beanie on. I've got a Mr. Speed shirt on. That's calculated because your listeners have probably never seen me, let alone heard me before. But they might see something, and Gene told me, you have to promote your brand. And this is a business, Pasquale, like you and I talked about earlier. It started as a fun hobby when I was 33. I'm now 59, and it's bigger than I ever dreamed it was going to be. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we must be doing something right because you guys want to talk to me about it. So
absolutely.
I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of that.
Oh, and proud to have you on the show, of course.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you sort of touched on this before because, one thing I've noticed is that you manage to keep the band fresh year after year. And the latest example is with the Dynasty Costumes and the stage show. Now, do you feel that, those sorts of changes is part of the natural evolution of the band, or are you trying to just attempt to top what you did the last time?
Yes, I'll be honest with you. We spent a lot of years just doing the love gun thing, kind of doing what was expected. There was an ex-member of the band at one point who was going to quit because we weren't going to wear the costumes that he thought we should wear. So we gave in and we did what he wanted to do. And so we wore the love gun outfits because Kiss was at the height of its popularity in 1977 with the love gun era. And, they were on top of the Gallup poll and all this, and they were everywhere. If you notice, what we're wearing is when the decline started.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the most popular thing. But that's what makes us us. We aren't afraid of change. We're not afraid of taking risks. We're not afraid of doing things that everybody else isn't doing. And I know the reason why nobody else is doing Dynasty Unmasked is because it's hard.
Exactly.
And I can tell you that 3 years ago, when we built that Dynasty stage and we got the new costumes, I'm not gloating here. That was $30,000 that we invested in that. And then, as we all know, the world went to hell in a hay basket. We lost that entire year. We'll never see that money again. We're still just treading water. And for any of your listeners who think that being in a Kiss tribute band is a moneymaker, I got news for you. No, I'm owed more money than I've spent. But as I mentioned to the two of you before we went on camera, I was a Kiss fan starting in 1976. So in 1993, when this idea started to circle around in my brain, I was doing it because I was a Kiss fan, not because I was trying to make money.
But at the same time, you're trying, well, of course, it shows, but you're keeping the quality of what you do at the highest level. So that's why, it's an investment. Of course, you're having fun, you're enjoying it because you're a Kiss fan. But at the end of the day, if this is business, business has to be run well, and it has to be at the quality that it deserves,
Yes. I always use the analogy, every once in a while you get a toothache. And when the tooth starts to hurt too much, you got to pull it out. And that is in reference to ex-members of the band, people that lost interest, lost their dedication, their commitment, their attitude. But yes, as far as the speaking is concerned, we don't want to be boring. We want to be the band that we want to go see. If I was going to go see a Kiss tribute band, I want to go see us because we put hard work and effort. It takes 2+ hours to set up our show wherever we go. And, it doesn't always fit into every venue that we are, contracted to play at. So we might have to scale it down a little bit. I don't like scaling our show down because that kind of dilutes what we're representing. Right. There are people that come to see us every time we play live that have never seen us before. And those people deserve 100% of who we are. And if we feel like we can't put all the amplifiers up, or we can't put the serpent out on stage or something like that, then we feel bad about that. And I'm very transparent with buyers when they negotiate with us about it, that if your stage is only this big, we're only going to be able to put this much up there, because everybody doesn't have a 40-foot wide, 20-foot deep stage where we go. And that's just the nature of the beast.
Exactly. Rich, of course, we will continue, talking about Mr. Speed, but let me just get to know you more. So us and the listeners, they want to know about Rich. So every story has a beginning for sure. So how did it start with you as a musician?
Well, I have an older brother who's 7 years older than me. And when I was younger, like right around 75, 76, I started hearing Peter Frampton and the Frampton Comes Live album.
Okay.
That was the album, that was the rock album that really kind of popped my cherry and got me like, I was like, what is this? What's going on? I got a copy for my birthday in 1976, and I just became a huge Frampton fan, and I still am to this day. But listening to my brother play guitar, because he's got a degree in classical music from Arizona State University, and he teaches up in Minneapolis, and he's recorded a number of his own albums and things like that. But he was the early inspiration for me. And then as I started getting more into music, I mean, I jumped in with cement shoes, and I was trying to absorb anything and everything. But my heart lies with melodic, album-oriented rock, AOR rock, like Boston, Journey, Triumph, Stryper, Cheap Trick, Heart, Frampton, New England. Those are the bands. I like to have melody. I'm not a shredder. I don't like to listen to bumblebees, playing guitar. But I listen to all sorts of things. I've worked for major record labels. I used to work for Universal Music. I've worked for music one-stops, which are basically warehouses that ship to mom and pop record stores around the country. I've worked for national record chains in my life. Most of my life has been in and around music in some way, shape, or form. But in the context of Mr. Speed, I can't do anything that I do without my other three bandmates. So,
of course,
it takes four of us to make Mr. Speed move. And then there's a small army behind the scenes too. We have a small crew because, again, if you invite too much infection into anything, you'll ruin it. So we've got a degree in pharmaceuticals. I keep a close eye on not letting fungus and infection get into my band, because I've lost friends over it. I've lost bandmates over it. It just happens. It's part of the game.
Wise move. Rich, you mentioned so many great bands, but you as a musician, what are some of your most important musical influences?
Well, I think I kind of Peter Frampton was the first musical influence to me. There's a band called New England. I don't know if you guys got to see them.
I did.
Open on the Dynasty. Well, that's awesome. I saw them open the Dynasty tour. I am personal friends with all four guys in the band to this day. I've actually seen them play some reunion shows in and around the Boston area. My influences, like vocally, Steve Perry, Ann Wilson, Lionel Richie, Michael Sweet, Rick Emmett. Those people, I grew up listening to a lot of guys that could really sing the roof off of the building. And that's helped me, I think, in a lot of ways. Plus, my father sang barbershop music for over 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of do have the ability to sing a little bit, even though I'm not professionally trained. I tried taking vocal lessons a number of years back, but I think I'd already done enough rock and roll damage to myself. She kind of looked at me one day and she said, I really can't do much with you. So
right.
Go play rock, But, I love the music that I grew up with. I hold it very near and dear to my heart. If I want to calm down, if I want to go to a happy place, I'll put on something like that. My very first concert was the Commodores on July 28th, 1978. Mm-hmm. And then my second concert was Yes. And my third concert was Kiss. Wow. So you want to talk about a broad
That's right.
of bands?
Here you go.
It doesn't get much more whack than that.
Exactly. Yes, and Kiss.
And I was 15 when all that was happening.
Wow.
So it's And then, of course, I was very involved with the hair bands of the 80s. And, I loved all that stuff. Night Ranger, just another great band. Even to this day, is a great band live. So, yeah, give me melody or give me death. That's my, that's my.
Totally agree. So, Rich, I'm curious. I was listening to an episode of Podcast Rock City, and they were saying that, people in tribute bands, for example, of course, the Kiss tribute band, they're not necessarily Kiss fans or mega Kiss fans. So do you consider yourself a mega Kiss fan? And what about the other members of Mr. Speed? What's their Kissdom?
Yeah, I really do consider myself a rabid Kiss fan. I'm not a completist anymore, meaning I don't need to collect every little thing that has the Kiss logo on it. I'm pretty much a vintage guy at this phase of my life. The other guys in the band, they love the band. I know Rich, our new drummer, he's got a Kiss bathroom. I don't know who else has a Kiss bathroom, but, I don't know if that's a metaphor for its shitty music or what. But, I've been to his house twice. And he's got some really cool stuff in there. Like he's got some belt buckles and 8-tracks. And I'm like, why is this here? This should be somewhere else in your home with some reverency. But he's got it in his bathroom next to his toilet. So I do think, I know that they're enough of a Kiss fan that they understand the importance of the music.
Okay.
They understand the importance of the music in the context of our Kiss tribute band. But I know that they also, like Mark, is a huge Y&T fan. Mm-hmm. So I think if you maybe have to ask Mark how, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where's his fanaticism? And the same thing with Mike. Even though I know that they're both big Kiss fans and they go back with the history of the band. Okay. And I've only missed 2 tours in my entire life since I've started seeing the band. And my first time was the Dynasty tour. I've seen all the recent tours. I'm actually going to see them in Columbus, Ohio on May. We're doing that big festival in Columbus, and that's only about 2 hours down the road from where I live. So we're going to go see that. But yeah, it's super important, Pasquale, that when you're in a tribute band, that your heart is in it. If you're there just to collect some cash or pick up chicks, the fans are going to pick up on that really quick. And your band probably won't be around a while. Mm-hmm. I do know guys that play in cover bands, I'll call them, because there's very few Kiss tribute bands. Many of them are just Kiss cover bands. But these guys play in other bands too. So if you're spreading yourself that thin, either you have a lot of time on your hands, you're an amazing musician, or you're just looking to kill time.
Right.
For me, it's Mr. Speed. It's always been Mr. Speed. And I don't mince words about that. This is where my heart is.
Nice. Now, we've talked to a lot of people on the show, and a lot of people like you who have Kiss projects like a book, a band. And there's always some kind of spark that comes from Kiss that ignited that passion to have that person do that particular project. So what was that spark for you that made you come up with this idea of creating a tribute band?
Well, do you guys remember a magazine called Metal Edge?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that was a magazine I bought lots of issues of because they had unbelievable coverage on the bands that we all grew up with, and especially Kiss. Well, there was an article in one issue that I have in my Mr. Speed memorabilia box that was about Cold Gin. And I'm talking about the version from Los Angeles that had Tommy Thayer, Jamie St. James, Anthony White, and Spiro in it. And I read that article, and at the time that I saw that article, I was just getting together with the original Ace and Mr. Speed, and we were just playing some songs. Because originally the concept for Mr. Speed was just to be 2 guys playing guitar onto a cassette tape, if you can believe that. Mm-hmm. That was it was never meant to get to where we are right now, talking with one another about a 28 and a half year history. So I saw that article. By this time, we had 4 guys in the original version of Mr. Speed. We met at a local restaurant in Pittsburgh, and I laid that page down in front of them. And I said, what do you guys think about this? So to answer your question, it was an article about cold gin in Metal Edge magazine that was the spark for us. And I have personally thanked Spiro and Anthony White for igniting the flame in me to start Mr. Speed. And I always give credit where it's due. And I've actually become pretty friendly with Spiro over the past year or two. And he has a lot of respect for what I'm doing with Mr. Speed. And I respect that because as far as I'm concerned, he's the best Gene that's ever put the makeup on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He was awesome.
Absolutely.
Plus, he was on that 70s show, that episode of that 70s show. And I mean, that's my all-time favorite sitcom. So that scored major points with me when I saw him on there.
Rich, I remember, the excitement when I got the confirmation that you were going to be part of the show. And, the very first minute, I wanted to ask you this next question. So you just said that you basically attended most of the shows since '79. So you only missed, of course, the Unmasked tour because they only played once in the United States. And you said that you also missed Creatures of the Night. So many, many shows that you've been to. So when you go to the show, do you find yourself studying the Kiss show, in its entirety, like visual, musically, or do you enjoy it like any other fans when you go to a show? That's the big question that I have.
I'm gonna do my best Ace from the Tomorrow interview. I'll have to spend all that money.
Yes,
that's right.
If I go to a Kiss show and I watch what they're doing, I might as well stop because none of us are ever going to be to the level that Kiss is at. I mean, the pyrotechnics and the stage effects and the scope of everything. That's why they're the masters of this. People talk about Kiss 2.0 and would you do this and would you do that? You know what, man? I just want to do Mr. Speed. I want to do what we do to the best of our ability. So I try to, it's kind of like a roller coaster of emotions when I'm at a Kiss show because I'm watching them, but I'm looking at magazines in my mind and I'm watching them and I'm putting a poster on my wall and I'm watching them and I'm listening to a record when my friends were outside, running around the neighborhood when I was young. And, I'm watching them when my mom comes into my bedroom when I'm 15 and she says, Richie, open the curtains. Why is it so dark in here? Because I just seeing a Kiss show now at 59 years of age, there's a shit ton of pride with me because you guys probably went to the tours that weren't trendy.
Yeah.
Now it's trendy to go to see a Kiss show.
Yeah.
Where did this shit start?
Yeah.
When the Lick It Up tour was happening and they were barely selling out 3,500 seat venues. Where are all the people now that go, look at me, I bought a VIP backstage thing? Piss off. If you weren't there in the 80s when nobody was going to see Kiss, don't be puffing your chest out now in 2023 because you bought a VIP experience. That's what separates, in my heart, a real fan from a fan.
Right.
And I'm not ashamed to say that because, I've dedicated my life. My band is one thing. That's my own personal cross. Nobody put a gun to my head and told me to do this. I'm doing it because I'm a fan and I have the ability. I believe that part of the reason I'm on this planet is for Mr. Speed because I can't play Metallica. I can't play Dream Theater. I can't do that stuff. I can't. But I can play Kiss and I can play Kiss with anybody. I can be in Gene's band. I could be in Ace's band, yeah, tomorrow.
Mhm.
But everything for a reason. And I truly believe that I'm on this earth to lead Mr. Speed and to play for people like you.
Awesome.
When you're able to come and see us play.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Let me just say to wrap up this question that even though what you were saying, there's no way to top what Kiss is doing. I'm telling you, what you guys are doing, it's amazing, and it's pretty close. The level of quality that what you guys do, it's unbelievable. I've never seen something like this. Never.
Well, you guys don't know me well enough, but I'm super emotional when it comes to my band. So, thank you.
No, Claudio, very, very well said. Kiss is coming up to the end of the road, and it's going to be difficult for Kiss fans when that road is finally reached. But for me, it's comforting to know that there's a band like Mr. Speed out there that will continue carrying the torch. And Rich, talking to you, you can see the passion and dedication that you have, for your band, for Kiss. And anybody that knows Mr. Speed knows, you can see it, how much work and dedication goes into your production and everything that you do on that stage. And, for a band that's been around for 28 years, you would think that, yeah, it's going to get easier, or it's getting easier, or now it's like, it's automatic. Not for you guys, because you keep challenging yourself year after year with different projects and different themes to the band. I can only imagine what the growing pains must have been when the band first started. So can you talk a little bit about some of those growing pains?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, well, first and foremost, you have to, when you get to the door, you have to check your ego. Now, I've been accused of being a real asshole. But you know what? At the end of the day, that asshole has lasted 28 and a half years. Most bands don't last 28 and a half days. I've been able to sustain this band through my own work ethic and by surrounding myself with people. Now, some people I never want to speak to again, but there are some people that have been really beautiful and I'm still friends with to this day. It's not always going to be great. I've had a left-handed drummer. I've had a 300-pound bass player. I've had guys that really couldn't play that well, and I've had some guys that could play circles around other people. It really boils down to what's up here and what's in here. Mm-hmm. If you can melt those two together, you're on a good path. But as I said earlier as well, people change and they get different agendas, different priorities, and you just have to find the people that you can work well with, because yes, this is supposed to be fun. Music and rock and roll is supposed to be fun, but where I'm at with Mr. Speed is a business now, because people are hiring us. And let me just say this, I can't make a living with Mr. Speed, and I don't. I work a part-time job to keep money coming in. Mike, Rich, and Mark all have full-time jobs. So this isn't some cash cow where the guys in Mr. Speed are, look what they're doing, these guys can just sit back. No, that's certainly not the truth. So every time we go through a growing pain, replacing a member, trying something new, doing this, doing that, it all is because we think it, we can achieve it. And I want to be around people that want to think like me and want to buy into the concept of giving fans what they deserve to come and see. Sometimes the struggle can be finding venues that want to hire us, because Kiss is very specialized. I don't know if you've ever talked to anybody at this length about it, but if you have a band that does 80s hair metal, well, they can play a lot of different things. So they appeal to a bigger crowd. Okay. When you hire a Kiss band, they're playing one band's music all night, and you better be a Kiss fan when you show up. So one of the biggest compliments that we get is when somebody who doesn't really know anything about Kiss, but they came with somebody who does, and they come up to us at the end of the show at the meet and greet, and they say, I came here tonight and I wasn't a Kiss fan, but you guys entertained me from start to finish.
There you go.
That that has happened a lot. We played a show Saturday night. The show was 2 hours. Our meet and greet after the show was 90 minutes.
Wow.
Because to me, that's success. Yes, we got paid, and yes, people applauded and everything. But when you can connect with somebody like that and make them feel that what they're watching is that believable, that they want to stand around for 90 minutes just to say hi and take a picture with you and tell you what they think, that's success.
That's right. Excellent.
Rich, as I said earlier, we met on a couple of occasions, but we never really got to talk at the level that we're talking right now. And I have to tell you, my level of respect for you just went, because I'm learning one thing tonight talking to you, is that you could be an amazing musician, you could be dedicated, you can work your butt off, but you can never make a band continue to play for 28 years if you don't follow some kind of philosophy, some kind of guideline to get you through life, to get you through all of this. And I love your life philosophy. And yes, maybe people call you an a-hole. They call Gene the same thing. Look at him right now. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I got something to say, but we'll keep the show clean.
No, but my point being, I think your philosophy is what has gotten you this far, and good for you for being so positive, and to help you move the band forward with your positivity. And I think that's amazing. I've always said that. It's amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. I wish a lot of other bands felt the same way, but I can't be concerned with them. All I can do is worry about me. And I worry about the people that are in my band and, on our crew. And we're in a really, really good place right now. And that's something to say after 28 and a half years. I mean, it'll be 29 years on June 24th. We played our first show June 24th of 1994.
Wow.
And we were wearing the Dress to Kill suits. I mean, we went to Goodwill stores, and I mean, that's how we started. We didn't know anything. And we've slowly just kept, and I'll be honest, guys, I didn't think it was going to last this long, honestly. And I'm eternally grateful for the time that you've given me tonight here. First of all, to reach out to me and ask me in the first place, and then to be kind enough to spend, and want to hear my story, because I've got stories, I'll be honest with you. And I just, all I really want, I just want Kiss to say that we paid him respect. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I don't want money. I just want Kiss to go, Mr. Speed does it right. If I hear that, I'm good.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
sure no, it's good. I'm sure you have. I'm absolutely sure you have. I mean, look at the respect the fans give you, for example. Absolutely. And if you give so much, and if and when you give so much to the band like you are, you get something back. I mean, Mr. Speed, I'm sure, has given you back so much. Yeah. So for you, I mean, what was the most memorable experience that you've had because of Mr. Speed?
Well, I've had a few. Let me give you two. The very first one was in our first year of existence. We had played the Chicago Kiss Expo, and Ace was the special guest that day. We were still wearing the suits from the Goodwill store. We had a banner hanging on the wall. We had a couple, fire truck lights. We might have even had a fog machine at that point. Okay, we had nothing. And we got to meet Ace before we went on stage, and we took a photo with him. And we look ridiculous, and especially me. I mean, just ridiculous. But when we got out there and we played, Ace made some comments to somebody backstage that was related to us later, and he said that the guy playing Ace on guitar sounded like him, and that I reminded him of Paul. And this was within our first year of existence. So that was very encouraging. So meeting Ace there, then if you fast forward to 2007 in Myrtle Beach at the Kiss Coffee House,
Oh,
Ace actually came up on stage and played Shock Me with us.
nice.
And
I remember that.
I remember the version of the band at that point, and up until we saw him behind our back line, we didn't know what was going to happen. We were told there was a chance, but don't get our hopes up. So when we finally saw him with Joe's Les Paul around his neck, then we shit ourselves because we're like, oh my God, it's really going to happen. So I turned around to my drummer, my bass player, and I said, "This is it. Don't fuck it up." And I remember my bass player was mad as hell that I said that to him. But do you know how few people in this world that are Kiss fans have actually jammed with a member of Kiss?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that many.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
And we got a shot. So I'm going to rewind back to that original story of meeting Ace in Chicago. I didn't get anything signed for myself that day. The band that time, they all got their autographs and pictures and stuff. I took an 8x10. You probably know the photo. It was from the Elder session of Ace sitting Indian style on the floor, kind of looking up at the camera.
Yeah.
Well, I had bought an 8x10, and when I went up to Ace, I said, "Can you sign this to John?" And he said, "Yeah, who is John?" And I said, "John's a guy in Pittsburgh who's sick. He can't be here, so I wanted to get this for him." Well, John was a brother of a woman that worked with my sister at the time. He had leukemia.
Okay.
He had come out to see us at a subsequent club show because at that point in our career, we were playing these marathon 3-4 hour shows at these little bars in and around Pittsburgh. I got to meet John. He came out to see one of our shows. He was sick, so he could only stay for one set, and then he left. He never saw him again. A couple of weeks later, I get a letter in the mail saying that he had passed away. Mm-hmm. And the letter from his family said that John had one wish. He wanted some Kiss CDs and the photo that I had signed for in his casket.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
That's why I do Mr. Speed.
That's it. That's it.
Wow.
That's what people don't know about me, about what drives this band. That it sounds cheesy, it sounds campy, it sounds like it's so un-rock and roll, we're so not cool, but we're people. We're just like you.
Mm-hmm.
We just take it to an unhealthy level because we wear the costumes and the makeup. You know,
right.
But the playing with Ace in Myrtle Beach and having a photo that I had signed for somebody else.
Wow. That's super cool. That's super cool, man. You're killing me with these stories, Rich. I'm telling you. And to me,
killing me with these stories. People are gonna see this shit.
No, but the cheesy thing
you better be really fucking good at editing this stuff. Or I'm coming to Canada.
Oh my God, I love it.
I can't help but that's who Rich is. You're seeing me.
Well, that's it, man. To me, that's the real value of what we do with Pask. We're not here to talk, Kiss and details of this and that. We're here to get to know you as a person, and this is what we're getting. And let me tell you, it's just the opposite. To me, it doesn't sound cheesy or anything. It's cheesy would be for you to play the rock star, with us. So we're talking to you, man. So this is awesome.
I can't wait till the show's over and I can take that makeup off. That's no disrespect to the Star Child or Paul Stanley, but I want to be Rich. It's who I am. I am not.
That's right.
I am fully grounded. I'm a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
We just happen to have a really cool fucking band.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Okay, Rich. So let me go back to something that Pask was mentioning at the beginning of the show. He touched on the fact that you guys were at the Kiss Cruise 3 pre-party. Can you tell our listeners about that particular experience?
Well, I will tell you the best part of the experience was getting to play with Bob Kulick. Yeah. Because my number one all-time favorite album is Paul's 78 solo album.
There you go.
I was fortunate enough to have played Kiss songs with Bob, I believe, on 3 different occasions. But that experience in Miami, being outside in an open air thing, the big arena was right down the street. There were so many Kiss fans there. Sophie Simmons was there, but playing for fans like the Cruisers is really what helps us to earn our medal. If you're playing for a drunk guy in a bar, that drunk guy thinks anybody's good, but when you're playing for people who have devoted their life to a band, have spent a life savings, spent a big chunk of money. I did 2 of the Kiss cruises. It was 10 grand for my wife and I to do that. Well, I think 10 grand for a total of like 6 days out at sea. We could go to the Bahamas for 14 days for a fraction of that.
Yeah.
And I never even really got to see the band. I never got to talk to the band in 2 years. So I was done with the Kiss cruise after that. But my joy came from playing All American Man with Bob Kulick, and a couple of the other tracks that we got to play with him that night, because that guy recorded those songs.
Exactly.
And let me tell you something. I've played with Ace. I played with Bob, with Bruce, and with Eric Singer. And the air changes on stage when you play with these people. My band was up there playing, but when they came up to stand in, you could feel the atmosphere change. And it's very, very surreal. Unless you're a musician and you get the opportunity to do that and play with one of your heroes, you might not be able to fully grasp that tractor pull, Death Star, but it's real, man, and it's pretty powerful. So for me, just I met Bob many, many times. I was very saddened to learn that he had passed away, but his playing on Paul's solo album is a huge influence on my personal music that I'm doing. I'm actually going into the studio tomorrow night to start tracking my 5th original song. And I think of Bob every time I'm in the studio, because I want to get a lead guitar player to come in and play the leads, but I end up coming up with some pretty cool shit. And again, I like to lay the stuff down myself, but I surround myself with other people who have either made records or are really good musicians, and they can really add to my story. So hopefully that answers your question.
Oh yeah, of course it does. It's amazing. When we get emotional when we talk about Bob, but I agree with you. His playing on the '78 album from Paul, it's a signature sound. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And it was totally different from the sound that he got when he played on his tour in '89.
Yeah, in '89. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he was like all these pinch squeals and all this stuff. He was real. I guess it was almost like not even the same guy, but it was the guy. And I just, for me, it wasn't the same. Even though I saw the Pittsburgh show on that tour, I was holding on to this big, steel girder. That was my seat for that tour. The place was packed, but I managed to get a guitar pick. But yeah, for me, Bob Kulick is a huge influence on me, much more than Bruce. Bruce, in my opinion, is the best guitar player Kiss has ever had. I just think what he's done, his career, his 11 years in the band, and especially the solo in Forever, that's just emotional, but the Revenge album, stop it. It's just sick. It's just sick.
True. Rich, of course, with such a long, history of the band, you might have played, some major events. Can you recall some of them and share with us? So some of the major events that Mr. Speed participated in?
Well, obviously we won a couple of contests. We got to do some things. But I'll be honest with you, those really pale in comparison to doing something like we were hired by the Detroit Pistons in 2016 to play at the Michigan Palace.
Ooh,
So
wow.
can you imagine? Can you imagine? There's 18,000 people at this NBA playoff game, and we're on one of the corners, halfway up in the bowl, and we played 4 times during the game, and like we played for 45 seconds here, 45 seconds there, and then they let us play, I think, half of Rock and Roll All Night at the very end.
Uh-huh.
And then we got to watch the game. So playing in front of 18,000 people, I can say that I did it, even though they weren't there to see us. Somewhere in my collection, I have some photos from that night. That was really cool. Again, playing with Ace at the first anniversary of the Kiss Coffee House, there were thousands of fans down there, and we got to play Shock Me with him. But I don't know if I've played my favorite gig yet, my best show. I think that one's still
Coming
down the road. I got to find that. Yeah, and it's out there.
Of course.
I'll let you in on this little secret too. I'm looking ahead to the end of Mr. Speed because ultimately it's going to happen. Nothing lasts forever. And I'm trying to think, what can I do? I want to do something grand. So where will it be? Just like we're all sitting around waiting for Kiss to announce when the last show is going to happen. Well, when Mr. Speed finally decides to hang it up, I want to do something really cool, and I want fans to come and check it out. I want it to be something that's an event, not associated with a cruise or with a poker game or with a beer run or something like that. I want it to be something, where the fans can rally and we can all get together and celebrate this band that we all love so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be fun.
That would be so cool.
I can't imagine what that could possibly be, and how that could be bigger than what you're doing right now with the Dynasty Unmasked costume and the Dynasty staging. Now, we touched on this earlier in the show. Mr. Speed is a business as well, right? And I don't know. Do you think he took a chance going with the Dynasty stage and costumes, like you were saying earlier? That was at Kiss's low moment. And here you are paying tribute to it. Did you, at any point, did you feel any apprehension for doing that?
Well, thank God we didn't do the Elder. Thank God we didn't go down that road. Even though the costuming would have been a lot more affordable. But yeah, Pasquale, we like taking risks, and we like coloring outside the lines. Mm-hmm. We don't want to play it safe. We know that there are fans out there that love the Unmasked era, that love the Dynasty era. They, these so-called diehard fans that say, "Oh, once they stop wearing black and silver, I lost interest." Whatever, then bye.
That's right.
We talked earlier. I wasn't around I was around in 74, but I wasn't a Kiss fan in 74 when they hit the scene. I didn't jump on to the Kiss wagon until around Destroyer. And every version of Kiss was Kiss, regardless of what they looked like, what the record sounded like, what color their capes were, what color their hair on their solo album was. It was Kiss. So for the people that sit out there and they go, it ain't Kiss unless it's the 4 original guys. Well, that may be true, but you don't have Kiss 2023 unless you have Kiss 1983 and Kiss 1987 and Kiss 1979. You don't have all that. Mm-hmm. Yes, Gene and Paul are the driving force behind it, and being someone who's driven this band for so long, I have nothing but respect for what those guys have had to endure to get from 74 to 2023 and everything in between. I can only imagine the sleepless nights those guys must have had. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But every part of it has played a major role in who Mr. Speed is. So even the Lick It Up album, to the Dress to Kill album, to the Elder, to Sonic Boom, all of it has touched somehow the fabric of Mr. Speed. Mm-hmm. And I'd be insane to admit that, you know, we only love one era, and that's what we hang our hat on, because it's not. Do I have a certain era of the band that I prefer? Yes, I do. But I don't turn my nose up at all the other eras that I was still a fan and I still went to go see and supported when it wasn't quite so popular, because it all factored into the big picture.
Exactly.
And that's how I see it.
Exactly. Well, it's a complete different approach. You know, this is not only that you're a fan and you're running this with passion, but it's also business, and you put up a quality product, and that's what you need to do. So sometimes it must be hard to kind of draw the line between your fandom and the real product or business that Mr. Speed is. So you have to think out of the box sometimes, and don't pay attention to, you know, some of the diehard fans, what they say. You will never make everybody happy. Never, ever, ever.
No way. It's physically and humanly impossible.
Impossible.
Somebody will have some shitty thing to say about the most minute thing.
Exactly.
But here's my rebuttal to that. Here are the boots.
Do it.
My guitar.
That's right. You do it.
You show me how to do it better. Now, just think about it like this. Everybody, all the keyboard sissies that sit out there and they talk shit about whatever. Let's just keep it in context here with Kiss Tribute World. You put the makeup on. You put on the costume. You prepare yourself. Then you put a guitar around your neck. Then you go out and you sell tickets to a show. Then you play a 2-hour show. Then after the show's over, you do the meet and greet. You do that for 28 and a half years, and then you come and tell me that you can do it better. Yeah. And that you can criticize what we're doing. Yeah. You have no right to criticize what we're doing unless you've walked in our shoes. And that goes for every other facet of life.
Absolutely.
If you have walked in somebody else's shoes, whatever, keep your fucking mouth shut.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. This is a philosophy, the way you live your life, and you know, it applies to everything. You know, not only to music, not only to Mr. Speed or what my job or past, you know, what he does. It applies for everything. So it's something it's really clear to pass myself and the audience. So you don't stay quiet. So you always go for more. So can you share with us what is the future of Mr. Speed? You know, Kiss is reaching the end of the road now, but I don't want, and we don't want Mr. Speed to basically to reach the end of the road either. So what are the future plans for the band?
Well, the future plans right now is to continue booking shows for the rest of 2023. We booked 2 more new shows today. We were talking about one yesterday that was going to be in Alabama. I would love to be able to come to Canada. Thankfully now the restrictions at the border are, I think they don't even exist anymore.
They're gone.
Yeah.
They're gone. Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to prove to your government that we're not making money when we come up there. So unless I cover myself with branches and leaves and everything and run into the country, someone's going to find out that I'm there doing something I probably shouldn't be doing and trying to make money at it. But it's always been a dream for us to go to another country and perform, because the people in Canada deserve to see us. The people in Australia, the people in we've had offers from Australia, from Switzerland and Sweden, and all of them have gone up in flames. The people either get cold feet or it wasn't real to begin with. So for me, the future of Mr. Speed is tomorrow. What can I do tomorrow to make the band better going forward? So we've got, I think, close to 20 shows on our schedule right now. Okay. There's only 52 weeks in a year, you know, so I think we're about halfway there. That's pretty good for a bunch of knuckleheads who just do this as a hobby.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I try to make them quality shows. I think I'm in a position now in my career where I can look at something and say, is that going to benefit us? Is it going to benefit the fans? Is it going to represent Mr. Speed the way that Mr. Speed wants to represent Kiss? Because, you know, we can play in a tent out in a grassy field at a fair, and that doesn't look very Kiss-like.
No.
But we can play a 1,500 seat theater where it will look like Kiss. I'd rather play the theater. But so I'm just really focused on taking care of my band, finding us as many shows as we can, staying in shape, working out, getting rest, just paying attention to things. And all of that is super important. I'll rewind back to the previous answer. But the people who think that they can do what we do, try doing that at 59 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And being in shape doing it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Try doing that.
Yeah.
It's not, it's really a workout. But again, I put the cross on my own shoulder. No one put a gun to my head and said I had to do this. It's just in my heart. So I want to do it to the best of my ability. So we're just going to keep moving on, and we're going to keep doing us. And if that sets a standard, or if that inspires people, or if that motivates someone to do something with their life, what more do we need?
That's right. And Rich, where can people get information about Mr. Speed and your upcoming shows? Where to get tickets?
Well, I know everybody loves social media, but we actually have a website. If you can believe it, we have a real living, breathing website. It's www.mrspeedonline.com. And if you go there, then you can connect with all the social media platforms. And just this past weekend, we got on TikTok.
Oh, wow. I want to see that.
Good luck with that one.
I want to see that.
I got nothing to do with that. It's just my band name. I'm not involved. I don't want anything to do with that.
I love it.
Even the name is stupid.
Look, Rich, we're I know that your busy schedule, so we're getting wrapping up the show.
All night. Let's talk.
It's been I have to say, let me say this. It's been such a blessing to have you on the show, and we don't say this to everybody. I wasn't expecting to get to know you that well, and as Pask was saying at the beginning, you basically transmit a life philosophy through what you do, through Mr. Speed, through the way you look at life, and how you respect, work ethics and professionalism. It's been a true pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Look, and I can't wait to come and see you. So hopefully, if you're playing, closer to the border, we're gonna come and see you.
Well, you need to tell me what American cities are close to you, and then I'll, because I don't even know where you guys are. Where are you?
Montreal.
Wow.
So New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
So we have 2 dates in New Jersey. We have 2 dates in New Jersey in May. We're playing Vineland, New Jersey at the Landis Theater, and then we're playing Carteret, New Jersey at the Carteret Theater, back-to-back nights.
Oh, nice.
So I would encourage you, if you can, to try and make it to one of those 2 shows. And please message me. You guys know how to get a hold of me.
Mm-hmm.
We're more than friends now. So if you want to come to the show, just let me know. I will make sure of that.
Super.
And after we're all done with this, send me your addresses. I'll send you some Mr. Speed swag.
Nice.
You guys deserve to wear.
Thank you so much.
You deserve our brand.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I have to second what Claudia was saying. It was a true honor to have you on the show, and what a start to our 3rd year doing this podcast. You've done your band for 28 years. I can't believe we've been doing this for 3 years now. It's wow. Where did the time go?
If you blink, you miss it. Keep your eyes open.
Exactly. And what a start to our 3rd year doing this podcast by having you on the show. A genuine person, a person that speaks from the heart, is not afraid to express himself, not afraid of what people are going to think, which is part of your success. You wouldn't have made it this far if you did, Exactly. And that really came through the screen. And I know our listeners are really going to get a kick out of listening to your stories and your philosophies, most of all. So thanks again for being on the show.
And I do a lot of these things, and this was a really enjoyable one. I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up your dress. It was a lot of fun. You guys asked good questions, and you were prepared. You send me the things in advance, which is really kind of cool. I don't get that a lot of times. I do some podcasts that, quite frankly, are a waste of my time. They're not very well done. But you and I go back, Pasquale. We know each other. And Claudio, I hope to get to meet you someday.
Yeah, for sure.
Even when the band's over, I like Canadian beer. So, if we want to, we get together, man, let's have that shit's like moonshine, man. Let's have some.
Oh, yeah. Much stronger than American beer. That's for sure.
Yes.
So once again, thank you so much for being on the show. A genuine pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been great for me, too. I can't thank you enough. My band thanks you. Our crew thanks you. And Mr. Speed Army around the world thanks you as well.
Thank you. And to the KISS Army, make sure you check out Mr. Speed the first chance you get. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please send them to talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. Until the next time, remember, never stop rocking with Mr. Speed. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify, Automatic, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to make yourself heard. Leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. See you all soon, KISS Army.